Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Roxanne.
And I'm Joe.
And today we are going to talk about the Buddhist Eightfold Path.
Kind of, yeah.
Is that kind of?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm always light on the Buddhist part of
the Buddhish.
The Buddhish part of it. Yeah.
Okay, first off, number one, I just want to say I am freezing. So we have gone in Joe's studio. We have gone from not being able to have the AC on
and her not being able to turn it on
because it makes noise, and me not being able to reach it, even though I'm as tall as Joe, which is weird.
You're not though. Right? There's pictures to prove it. Anyway.
Whatever. So we were baking in here and sweating, and then now we're freezing because we can't have the heater on. Yeah. So I have a throw blanket, and I still have frostbite.
Sacrifices we make
for art.
Yeah, for art. Is this what this is? Art?
Let's just call it art.
Art. Cool.
All right. I want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed and rated and reviewed. It is so nice to get reviews on iTunes. I look, Joe doesn't. Joe's way more evolved than me. But I look, and I think there's some really nice ones on there. I look on a few.
I've looked once, and there was some really cool ones.
You looked once?
I did.
Okay. So if you like us, go rate and review and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. And then let's talk about it, man. I don't know why I have my computer out because I ain't got shit on there about Eightfold Path. So tell us, what's the Eightfold Path?
This is always scary for me to do because I'm not a scholar in this. I'm not a a Buddhist philosopher. Even reading the sutras and all that kind of stuff.
What's a sutra?
Sutra is the teachings. It's kind of like the Bible kind of thing for Buddhism, I think.
I think the only thing most of us know is a Kama Sutra.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's same. It's because it's from the same time, I guess. Same. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. But the Eightfold Path is. I feel like we need to get into. Before even talking about the Eightfold Path, is the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, and I like breaking this stuff down to how I can understand it.
You enjoy breaking it down?
Break it down. But just because, so I can understand it more.
Joe.
Level. But even the Buddha, he was quoted as saying that don't believe me just because I said it. This is a path for you to experience. So it's like, what's my experience? And it's just layers too. It's like my understanding when I first started to now is totally different because I understand it in a different way. But I feel like the four truths need to be before, because it is the beginning of the Eightfold Path.
Wait a minute, is the four truths are the first four folds?
Yes.
No.
Oh. Yes. No. They're not the first folds. No.
So are we doing the Four Noble Truths today, or the Eightfold Path?
We're going to do them both. But
okay.
It's to my understanding. So
start with the Four Noble Truths.
So basically this is how I break it down. Whereas Buddha basically had a diagnosis. And he goes,
I can't beatbox.
Yeah, you're really making it hard for Jeremy right now.
Sorry, Jeremy.
So he basically,
Joe rolling down the street in a 6'4".
I feel like
got Four Noble Truths.
I was going in, if I was going in, and I'm like, fuck, I'm just hurting, kind of thing. He was like, basically, Buddha was like a psychologist thing. He's like, okay, here's what's going on with you. You're suffering. It's the first truth. There's suffering, and you're suffering, and it's not the major suffering of the world, because that's happening for sure, but it's more like how we're experiencing suffering in our life.
So the first noble truth is just to identify that there is suffering, or
there is suffering,
or just to accept that there's suffering.
Well, basically, in a sense, kind of accepting, but just seeing that there's suffering. So just like, okay, you're suffering, there's suffering, and it's not like I said, the big suffering in the world, but the word in Pali is dukkha. And I really like that because it sounds like dookie.
Yeah.
And it's basically just shit.
Yeah.
And it's like all the fucking shit moments. Crap. The stuff that the pleasant that ends that I want always pleasant, or I'm pushing away the unpleasant. So just knowing. And that's the second truth, is the cause of the suffering is craving for more, craving for less. So he's like, basically, there's suffering. Here's the cause. You're just fucking craving, and then there is an end. That's the third. That there's an end to the suffering.
Is that death?
No.
Oh.
And it's through, which is the fourth noble truth, through the Eightfold Path. So basically, here's the remedy. Here's the prescription kind of thing.
Okay, so the Four Noble Truths sound like what you would give like on a on Instagram to be like, take my course.
Kind of.
Like it'd be the 1 minute like,
yeah, it's like you're suffering.
Yeah, you're suffering.
Basically it's the what.
Yeah.
It's basically, there's suffering, and the cause of it is
your
your craving, and there is an end to the suffering, and here's what we're going to do to end the suffering.
And the suffering can end through the Eightfold Path.
Through the Eightfold Path, which basically is, it broke down in 3 parts. It's Pana, Sila, Samadhi. So the first is just the first, and I wrote them down because I don't remember all of them always. But Buddha talks. First, I want to rewind where it's like, okay, so the prescription is we got to do some work. There's some stuff that you got to do, kind of thing. It's like, well, fuck, just give me the pill, and I want to be better, right?
Yeah.
And that's basically what we want. It's like there's suffering. Okay, give me something so I don't suffer anymore. But this is a practical way of living. So the first part, the Pana, is just understanding.
This is the first fold.
So the first fold is right view. So he calls it right view or wise view. It's like right in front of all these. It's like right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right concentration meditation, right mindfulness, or just concentration meditation, mindfulness meditation.
Oh, so there's the Buddha was all do both concentration and
which is so super
because there's
cool.
like a split in the where people are like concentration's right and other people are like mindfulness is right, and then the Buddha was like,
you need them both,
get it together, hoes.
And that's the samadhi part of it. So basically it's like,
I don't get the wait a minute,
no, samadhi is concentration. You'll get samadhi is I don't know the correct definition, so I don't want to fuck it up, but it's just an ease, some peace of mind. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, you can tell me that I'm wrong. Anybody can tell me I'm wrong. Anyway, he was saying. So I had a problem with right, like this is the right way. This is right view. And it's like, okay, but then another way it's broken down is wise. And I'm like, wise, okay. So I'm like, good enough. Good enough view for right now, because it's evolving.
Yeah, what does view mean?
So view is just understanding. So understanding, so basically just understanding that there's suffering. Understanding that there's an end to suffering. Understanding what the cause is. Understanding it's, so basically the first part is just wake the fuck up. Wake up. Don't be so deluded, because we're just so deluded that there is that impermanence is real, karma, all that kind of stuff. So just kind of waking up.
Wait a minute, you believe in karma, but you don't believe in chakras?
I believe this is what I believe. I believe in action reaction. I believe that every action has a reaction.
A positive and negative?
Yes, absolutely. So that's, I don't know about the rebirth kind of stuff, and yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
Did Buddha actually talk about reincarnation?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, but right view, is there an action connected to each one of the Eightfold Paths? Because it's like so I know that with right livelihood or with wise or good enough livelihood, good enough. Isn't there nutriment, what you put into your body or what you put into your consciousness? Mm-hmm. Oh, where did I get that?
Yeah. Well, there's so this is where the action reaction is so basically is breaking it down to where it's like, wake up, quit being an asshole and meditate. It's basically breaking it down in 3. So that's the Pana Sila Samadhi. Is just basically just fucking wake the fuck up.
Okay, well, what did he consider being an asshole?
Just watching our speech.
Okay, so stop being shitty.
Yeah.
To people.
Watching and
verbally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And listening too, being able to listen. I think is part of why speech. Even like we can go on to online, all that kind of shit. You know, it's like I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, and then did I say there's right effort?
Okay, what's right effort?
Where we put in our effort, where we put in where we put in our within our practice. Are we going too much onto the concentration part? Are we going too much meditation part or the mindfulness part? So it's where's our effort? Where's our attention? You know, where are we putting our attention? I believe. Yeah, right action. So that's doing something, yeah.
What is right action?
I don't know. What is right action for you?
So is it all interpretive? Like each person could just go, well, my right action is that I'm a serial killer.
Well, is that really wise or right action? Is that you think it might be? Depending.
Have you ever watched Dexter?
I have watched Dexter.
So,
but that's a made-up story. But that's diluted. He's not awake. He's causing harm
to really bad people.
Yes, but okay. All right. So you want to get into a debate about Dexter?
I'm sorry, Joe.
And again. I'm
sorry. This is what happens, though.
It's okay. You can do that. But again, I'm not a scholar with all this stuff. I just know it by experience.
Okay. So then what's your experience, though, with this, with the Eightfold Path? Like, how does it apply to your life? What do you do?
What do I do? That's a good question. I mean, it's basically a formula, like I said, to wake up, to not be an asshole, and to meditate. It's basically how I am with it right now.
So, but isn't it like you have to meditate in order to wake up? And do you have to wake up in order to not be an asshole? But you have to meditate in order to not be an asshole, and you need to not be an asshole. Well,
that's why it's not a linear path. It's like spokes on a wheel,
or like puckers on a butthole.
It's on puckers.
We have to talk about buttholes. A bunch of
buttholes or something. It's like each line on the butthole.
Yeah.
So it's where
everyone is going to go look at their buttholes and see if there's 8. Like, oh my gosh, what if?
So that's where the effort comes in. Is where
to go look at your butthole.
To look at your butthole. And what spoke needs to be tightened. So that's where the effort is.
I think all your Buddhist teachers are going to roll over.
I'm already because I'm still learning all this stuff. You know, for so long, it was just about me just being able to fucking get here in the present. Just to be able to fucking navigate. And through meditation, through mindfulness, that I've woken up. I've woken up to the suffering. I can see the suffering and the causes of it. And then I can watch my speech. What's my livelihood? Where am I putting my attention? And where am I putting my effort? And again, it's not a linear path. It's like spokes on a wheel. If you don't want to tighten the spoke too tight because it'll get wobbly. You don't want it too loose. It'll get wobbly. So it's just that's where the just right comes in. Just good enough. You know, so I get caught in either concentration or mindfulness a lot. But I think it's kind of starts with that. It started with that for me. And then all the other stuff just kind of comes. I'm waking up to the causes and conditions. I can see impermanence within myself, within these emotions, within these thoughts, that they're not, I don't have to fucking get rid of them. Yeah. Is that making sense?
Yeah. There's no like just clear, like you're supposed, like when you are practicing this like eightfold path, I mean, I guess the things they're saying is that you got to meditate in two different ways and some balance of those two different ways.
Yes. Because if you're too much concentration meditation, you're bypassing.
And concentration meditation is
one-pointed focus. So if I'm just focusing on the breath all the time, that's great. I bring a lot of peace and ease, but I can still get diluted in that. Chanting is concentration meditation. It's just, words, and just always being there. But the mindfulness part opens up our awareness.
And what's that?
It's present time awareness, moment to moment awareness of everything.
He's burping.
I'm burping of everything
This is what a burp feels like.
This is right now. It's like this. Sounds are like this. We can start watching the impermanence of sounds. That's where we kind of open up to impermanence, not self. Yeah.
Okay. And then with right livelihood.
Yeah.
What's that about?
That I think that has a lot to do with what are we putting into the world. Like he talks, Buddha talks about something like it's kind of if a butcher's not right livelihood, you're killing. So it's like a karmic kind of thing. It's the action reaction. It's how what are we causing harm? Looking where we're causing harm. Speech, looking where we're causing harm. Livelihood, looking where we're causing harm. Because if we're always causing harm, it's going to come back to us.
Aren't we always causing harm? Even if we're minimizing our harm? Levels.
Definitely levels.
Thin levels.
We're just being alive, we're causing harm.
Okay.
That is an inside joke. Levels. But yeah, I feel like it's what are we putting into the world? How are we navigating? How are we navigating in relationship?
That's right livelihood. Isn't right livelihood how we make our money and how we support?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like we still need to live in this world, and how are we contributing? And
that's for us to figure out.
Yes.
Just about what values do we have, and does it cause harm?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because
because all this stuff causes a response within us, right? It's like, how I can't articulate it. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. I think you're doing a good job, Joe.
You're doing okay? Thank you.
Yeah. I know this makes you nervous.
It makes me totally nervous because I'm not, I have an understanding internally, but it's hard to articulate.
I feel like, okay, I'm just going to say some shit.
Go for it.
When I started meditating and got excited about it, because I was like, this could be a way for me to be present in my life finally, and not be in so much struggle. And then as I got into it, it was so cerebral. It was so intellectual. The way that it has been presented, at least in the West, has been a lot of men thinking a lot and then talking.
Right.
And then I was like, well, is this accessible to anybody? Because there is this idea of like you wake up and you are by exploring the concepts of the Eightfold Path, and and then you start picking up Buddhist books, and it just gets so like deep into
Super
heady. And
Yeah.
then there's the way too where I would be like, well, what about somebody who can't read? What about is that
Well,
accessible?
that's the why, like even the wise intention, wise view, all that kind of stuff. It's like, what do you mean wise or right? So that was even a throw off to me. It threw me off a little bit, and I think you're right.
Well, but I think that when you go into other cultures that Buddhism has been in the culture, it's a way of, it's not so, academic. It's applicable. I mean, it's cultural. And so I think the reason why I wanted to ask you about the Eightfold Path in this is because you do have a way of explaining things that, because you don't wave your balls around being like, oh, I'm so smart, which
Well, did you see me even?
you
I
actually
want to wave my balls around a little bit, and I can't. I mean,
Joe, please put your balls away.
No,
I can't stop trying.
I don't want to wave those fucking things around. But when I start talking about this shit, it's like I think I need to know more, and I don't. And it's like I'm not a Buddhist teacher. I don't know what I am, but
your teachings are informed by Buddhism.
Yes, and it's an experience that I have. So I can't sit here and break down the Eightfold Path. I really want to.
You just did, Joe.
In a sense, I did, and so that's why just the three basic things is just waking up to my own suffering, that I can see my suffering, and it's like when I say suffering, there's a lot of suffering, but being a white cisgender male, I have not had a lot of suffering that a lot of other people have. So what it is the suffering of my own mind, of my own emotions, and the cause is craving for more. I'm recovering, in recovery. So of course the craving is, I can see the craving, so just that understanding, that's the first part of the Eightfold Path. If I break it down in three, that's the first factor, or the first three factors is just waking up to those causes and conditions, seeing the impermanence, seeing that it's not self, it's unsatisfactory to cling to anything. And the middle part is just watching how I navigate through this, through life, through my livelihood. Even being a meditation teacher, is the ethics about how am I ethical in this life, in my family and my work and my friendships. That's where I see it. And then that third part, the meditation stuff, is key to me. That's how it all started, is being the concentration got me, the one pointed focus allowed me to fucking just be in this moment a little bit. Just to fucking settle the mind a little bit. But I didn't want to, that's why the mindfulness is so important, because we don't want to get stuck again with the bypass. We'll just be, okay, I'm freaking out or whatever, I need to just get concentrated. That's great, but then open up the mind to the mindfulness piece. What's happening in this moment? There's sounds happening, and then we can start, that's where we start seeing the impermanence. That's where we start seeing that shit's not personal. It's not fucking personal. This is just fucking happening. And I can't, craving and always like grasping to just wanting pleasant birds chirping all the time is fucking suffering, because there's a jackhammer going on over here. So we can be with both. So the mindfulness allows us to learn to be with both and not take it so personal. And then there's calming in that. And then turning towards our emotions. Same thing with our emotions and the thoughts. The emotions that I fucking ran from my whole fucking life, especially through addiction. Didn't want to fucking feel the way I felt, so that's where the transformative piece has been for me, is the mindfulness piece. So that's where it all started. And again, it's not a linear path. Yeah, I don't know. It's my experience.
Yeah. I wonder, so I guess I'm gonna. Oh, so I wonder about my experience, because I have been practicing meditation for a long time, and then have really benefited from Buddhist teachings. I mean, and the culture about having it available, having meditation available, and people who have dedicated themselves to study and practice and teaching and learning how to teach, I think is a really valued skill, learning how to present it. But culturally, for me, I felt like there was this one way where it was like people were posturing about like, I'm more detached than you are.
Yeah.
And I felt like, ooh, I can't do, I'm not good like that. And then I'm wondering, so I guess I'm wondering your thoughts about, is this practice trauma informed? And I don't know if you want to address it, but I could say from myself is that I was deep into a practice and really dedicated. And the more I really liked that there was this powerful connection to, I am responsible for my experience. I am responsible, and I have agency within this and power, that I can choose to give thoughts power or not. I can choose to be mindful about this. And what would come up is stuff that was about my body and about stored memory and about things that, even however much mindfulness I would put to it, I couldn't stop acting out certain things. No matter how much consciousness I had, or how many times I was really like trying to do like right livelihood, or trying to make sure I was doing these things, there was this trauma that had to get addressed. And I felt like, of course, I think that if I had stuck with a community, or I think I could have maybe found something there, but I felt like I was not, my experience of it wasn't really what people wanted me to be. It was like I was doing all the right things, and I felt like I should have been getting these things that like my white middle class heterosexual cis male friends were getting, you know, and who hadn't been abused. And then I felt like I was behind, and then I felt like it was wrong, that I would start to do a body meditation, and I would get to my knees and rage would come up, or I would get to different places, and then there would be all this stuff for me to unpack when I felt that there was this thing that was I had taken, which I was like, I shouldn't have that. If I concentrate enough, if I do right enough, if I don't know what you think, because you deal with traumatized people all the time.
It's a great question, because, and I think your question was, is this practice trauma informed? And I would say yes, but not a lot of teachers are.
Ooh, good answer.
You know what I mean? Because I think it can be used. In what I'm finding, like, of course it can be trauma informed, because it's not. And that's how I thought. It's like, you need a fucking white knuckle. You sit and you fucking just sit through those emotions, because the only way out is fucking through the pain, kind of thing, right? And that's great, but it's super traumatizing. I think it can be totally traumatizing, but with mindfulness, we can touch the edges of our pain. When we can get concentrated enough, and we can come down, and then we can turn towards the emotions and turn towards the stories a little bit. Like, even in a body scan, we get right to there. Nope. You get right to your knees or whatever. That's enough. We can use other senses to I think the word is titrate, or pendulate, where it's like, use your eyes. Open up your fucking eyes. Look around. Find something that brings you, like, regulate your nervous system a little bit. Find the breath. Okay, cool. Like a yoga pose. You don't want to go fucking deep into a stretch, because you'll fucking hurt yourself. You want to go right to where it fucking hurts, right to where, and then come back out of it. You don't want to fucking go. And then maybe the next time you can go a little bit deeper, and then you can start changing the story. And having, like we talked about earlier, having somebody, a teacher, a mentor, somebody that can guide us through that is super beneficial as well. So to answer the question, I think it can be trauma informed. The way it's presented a lot of times is not trauma informed, but I definitely think it can. Definitely think it can, because it's not just about fucking sit in your shit. Part of it is, it's like, yeah, we learning to find comfort in the discomfort, or not even comfort, but just be with, you know. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I like that a lot. I do. You're doing good work, Joe. You can talk about this.
I can. Thank you. Yeah, but and again, and this is this is an edge for me. This is a super uncomfortable edge, because I teach meditation, I teach mindfulness. I do some Buddhist meditation groups. I've done, but it's always been like, I feel like I'm not smart enough, because you're right. It's for smart people. It can be perceived as that way. You know, it's a very heady thing, but it's not. It's experience. Even the Buddha fucking said, don't just believe it because I said it. He said, don't even write this shit down. They didn't write any of his teachings down until 500 years after his death. Because he's like, you need to experience this. Experience it for yourself and find out for yourself if it works for you. You know, because it is. It's, yeah.
500 years is a long
It's
time.
a long fucking time. And I think why it sustained so well is because it was an experience thing. It wasn't just fucking words written down over and over. It was like people's experience. So it was like the heart, the game of telephone, but from the heart. Really living it.
Like heartaphone.
Heartaphone.
And that's what you're doing, Joe.
Yeah.
You're
my understanding.
You're a Care Bear for mindfulness.
And I'm getting deeper into. I just actually asked, because, and that's another thing too about the trauma informed. Like, if I don't know, well, shit. When I first got into meditation, like you, it was like I just saw a bunch of fucking smart or wooey fucking people tying their legs in a knot and fucking sitting in the spiritual position. I'm like, I couldn't even do that.
Yeah.
So it's like, I couldn't do that, you know? And I stayed away from it for a long time. But when I was in enough pain and I just wanted to fucking some freedom and I had some friends that were teaching meditation. So I felt safe already when those fucking difficult times were coming up in meditation. I could look up at the front room like, okay, I'm taken care of because my homies are right there. So I think that was a big part of it. If they weren't there, I don't know if I would have been. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's really important. You know, I don't know if my experience would have been the same. You know, but I didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
And a lot of pain comes up. A lot of when you close your eyes and try to sit still. Holy shit! And I can only imagine on different levels of trauma. You know.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't have the same traumas that you had, but I there was some trauma in my life. You know, the way, you know, so I could only imagine. Yeah, but I do think, and you've seen it work for you. You have. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. I continued practicing outside of Sangha.
Yeah.
And I would practice.
Sangha means community. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, I just did it. Yeah, community outside of a group. And that's, I think, we got a question, and I guess I'm just going to jump in and maybe.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I can't talk that much more on the Eightfold Path, as you can tell.
But I think we keep getting questions about people who have been harmed by certain spiritual paths. And it sucks. It's so hard. Yeah. It's so hard to unpack because it is the core. It's that most sweet, vulnerable part of us. And the only answer I keep coming up with is because it was my answer, is that some people find that being in spiritual communities is really safe and good for them. Yeah. And other people find that they need to go this alone with like some guides, but maybe they're distant, or they don't like going into some sort of group with a leader is not good for some people. And my experience of that, and every time, because I've tried on so many practices that I don't know if it's just because of my mind or because of how I was raised with, I just don't trust authority, and it really has worked well for me to not trust authority, but that that I don't think it would be a good thing for me to ever have a guru. It's never been so far.
Yeah.
It's never been so far for me to have a specific teacher that is my guide, period, or a specific clergyman or anything. And so I think just to be okay with this might be a more solo path because of harm that's happened.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's really okay. You can be just as spiritual if you even, I mean, I go places. I love connecting with people, but I'm not a joiner.
Yeah.
And I'm not somebody who puts somebody on a pedestal.
Yeah.
So I think it's, some people it really works well for, and other people it doesn't.
Meditation, or just the path.
Having a dedicated community that's your community that you go to and that you're a part of, because this is what we do about spirituality, and or following a specific teacher. Like for me, I felt bad about it. We talked about it in our first episode, where I have not been a joiner. I have been a seeker, but not a joiner. And I think part of that maybe comes from trauma, but it doesn't mean there's something wrong. It just is like, this is the healthiest model for me. And so for the people I know who have had spiritual wounding from religions or from teachers or authority in any way, it might be that you get comfortable with seeking on a more solo level. Not putting anyone in power about your spirit.
Not putting anybody in power of your spirit.
Yeah.
So to have an understanding, like I said, like in the beginning, I had my homies that were up at the front of the room, and it was that in itself was kind of blurry lines between teacher friend kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when I kind of coming into my own, I didn't have a teacher for a long time, and now I'm just kind of like reaching out. And like I said, I reached out to a person that I've known for a while, and is a teacher at the Insight community, and just because I want to just deepen my understanding of the practice, so just some direction in my practice, and that's it. He's not my therapist.
Yeah. He's
not going to cleanse my soul or whatever. It's just like, he has a lot of wisdom within the practice of Buddhist meditation. So that's it. Not a guru, not anything like that. He just knows the teachings a little bit, and he's experienced. And I've known him for a long time, and I'm going to start working with him that way. But it was really clear that I even said, I'm not looking for a therapist. And some part of it, and I can be totally I can be honest with it. It's part of it is. I even got to watch my own self with not looking to a male figure that is replacing like my dad or my uncle trauma that I have, because I was always trying to impress, and that's what I was doing with my friends. It's like, look, am I doing good kind of thing? And I don't want to do that with him, but I've had to with my friend that I just asked to be my mentor, not my friend, but a teacher. So I got to watch that. I got to watch that projection, but, and I fumbled through that before. I've projected this father figure, and like, I'm doing good. I'm a good Buddhist, right? And you see me, it's like, I can't even, I never think I'm good enough, but I'm feeling like it's good enough at this point. Did I articulate that right? Yeah. So yeah, the whole, it's what are we going into if with anything that we're doing, especially the community is fucking important. We want to fucking be a part of. We want to feel a part of it. And in Buddhism, they say that sangha, community, is the all of it. And I can get with that, but what I had to understand is not the greater community, because even Buddhists can be assholes.
Yeah.
Everybody can be an asshole.
Uh-huh.
But it's like this core of people. It's like the community, like a core of people that have a handful of, there's another sutra. Yeah, sutra? Sutta. Anyway, is the Kalyanamita.
Ooh.
Yeah, Kalyanamita is just admirable friends.
Yeah.
People on the path. Just a handful of friends that are on the path that you can relate with and you can guide each other. That's what I look for.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
That's
important.
Yeah.
Super important. And, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, they call it the 3 gems of Buddhism. Buddha just means the awakened one. Just awakened. And we're waking up. So trusting in our own awakening. The Dharma is teachings or truth. Finding our own truth. Waking up to that. And then Sangha. In community, a handful of people. Because when I can't trust myself, when I don't, I don't feel wise enough, I can talk to my friend Roxanne, and you will model that. You'll mirror that in me. That you can't talk about the Eightfold Path or whatever it is. So that's important.
Yeah.
Super important. So I think, that's more important than any guru stuff. Any, yeah.
Good. Thank you, Joe. This was a good talk on
It was. I
Buddhism
feel
and stuff.
so awkward talking
I
about
know,
it. I really do. And I thank you for pushing it with me. And it's like, this is where I'm at with the practice. And it doesn't mean that I'm a bad practitioner, but I feel like that sometimes.
Yeah.
The imposter. I need to know more. And I know enough. And I've seen I've lived this practice where I've seen the transformation in my life and in my being. And it's all because I've been doing it, not because somebody handed down the message, but it wasn't because of them. It's because I've been practicing it.
Yeah.
I've been doing the work, so yeah.
Yeah. Good. You're smart, Joe. You know what you're doing.
Thanks, Roxanne.
All right. So that is another episode of the Spiritual as Fuck or Whatever podcast.
Yeah.
Do you want to thank people? What are you going to do?
Thank you for everybody that subscribed and left a review. It's really it helps a lot. Roxanne loves reading the reviews.
I already said that.
Yeah.
Also, Patreon members,
Yes.
thank you. We have gotten several more, and I think it's wonderful. So if you want to go see what we're doing on Patreon, the link is in our show notes.
Yeah.
Also, thank you to Jeremy Miller of the Betterment Brothers and Flicks and Six. You should go check him out. Jeremy is our producer, editor, podcast. He is our guru about podcasting.
A podcast guru.
Yes. All right. I think that's it, right?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Goodbye.
Appreciate you.
Bye.
When you're feeling shit out of luck, remember you're spiritual as fuck. Or whatever.